I, 49F, overheard a conversation between my husband, 47M, and his sister, 43F, about how the reason why my daughter, 24F, is so messed up is because I was a bad parent. I don't even know how to proceed after hearing that. My first husband died when my daughter was only 1 year old. I was left to raise her all alone. Although my brother effectively stood in as her father, she had a relatively normal childhood. I was lucky that I did not have to work and that my family stepped in so much to help me raise her. Around her teen years, she started exhibiting some worrying behavior. Lots of aggression, hostility, neuroticism, etc. She was very productive and did amazing in school and never got involved in drugs or anything. But her personality changed to become quite cruel and intimidating. I honestly have no idea how it happened or why this change happened with her. She refused any form of counseling or mental health treatment, convinced there was nothing wrong with her. I hate to describe it this way, but the way she treated me and my brother was abusive. She went out of her way to make me feel bad about my weight, my looks, my lack of education, my clumsiness, etc. on a near daily basis. She would do things to embarrass me in public and clearly take pleasure out of seeing me upset or ashamed. She wasn't just like this to me, she also effectively lost all of her friendships, all of her relations with other family, over her behavior. And it wasn't just teasing. If you frustrated her, she would become terrifyingly angry and even physical and destructive. It was the most harrowing years of my life to see my own daughter turn into this cruel, horrible person. The worst part was that she would go back and forth between being kind and sweet to me and acting like she was some amazing person, and then switch into being cruel. I just bit my tongue. I literally was too scared to talk back to her. There was a time where I tried to rein it in, but eventually I just couldn't deal with it anymore. She left home at 18 and rarely visits. She lives 500 miles away in New Jersey, working towards a career in finance. When I do see her, she acts fine and friendly, but there are moments where I can see her cruel side is still very much there. I remember when she visited for a whole weekend and was totally fine, and then at the end she threw a huge fit at me over dinner being made too late in the night and started screaming at me, calling me dumb, pathetic, ugly, breaking her plate on the ground, and then laughed at me when I started to cry. Very classic behavior. It was almost like she had planned to act nice all weekend just to trick me. Anyways, you get the gist. It has been a constant source of pain for me. I met my husband 5 years ago and married him 3 years ago. My daughter has been nothing but sweet to him when they have met, and so it can be difficult for him to absorb why we are a bit distant. But other family members on my side have assured him what I say is true, so it's not as if he doesn't believe me about her problems. My husband had his family over for dinner. We had a fun time, and I went to bed. I could still hear my husband in the living room drunk chatting with his sister, who is basically his best friend. Our house has very thin walls. I heard them discuss my daughter, and I was just astounded. She brought up how kids don't just randomly end up that way, and that there has to have been something to make her that way. And he said how I tell him I was this good parent, but he doesn't really think that is true, because if that were true, she wouldn't have ended up that way. He said he isn't sure if I abused her or beat her or something like that. This is paraphrasing heavily. Their conversation went on for easily 20 to 30 minutes. It sounded like they had talked about this before. My husband said that even if I was a horrible parent, it means nothing to him because we aren't having kids. He also mentioned how no mother ever admits they are bad parents and that he doesn't think I would ever admit to being one. But he did say that it's fucked up to mess someone up for life like that and then deny it. I was just astounded. Just to be clear, I do think something probably triggered her to end up like that, but I spent years trying to get her to open up, go to therapy, anything, and there was nothing. I made her talk to a counselor and she didn't take it seriously at all. I have talked with my husband about those years extensively. I have even told him exactly what his sister said, that I think it came from something, I don't know what. I know my grandmother was a very cruel woman, and maybe it was just a genetic thing passed down, but I can't say. I am just so deeply hurt by his comments that he doesn't believe me. I am his wife. We are completely honest with each other. Well, I thought we were. And yet at the same time, I don't blame him. He is completely correct that horrible mothers don't ever admit they are horrible mothers. I know I have met plenty, and I also do not blame him for ever bringing up these suspicions. Could you imagine telling your wife might have been a horrible abusive mother, basically implying I am lying? Even if he does think that I was, I simply cannot blame him for not ever bringing this up to me. But it doesn't mean I am not deeply, deeply hurt by the fact that he thinks this about me. It's been one day and I haven't brought it up. I just don't know how. For one, I eavesdrop. That is not okay. But two, it's just UNCOMFORTABL to talk about. What do I do? How do I bring this up to him? What do I even say? TLDR, I overheard my husband and his sister talk about how the reason why my daughter is so messed up is because I abused her. I did not, and I told him that.